Hey guys, welcome back to Off the Wall. My name is Mike, and today we are talking about episode 6 of the Orville New Horizons. This show just continues to knock it out of the park, man. This episode was so good. It introduced just really interesting ideas involving time travel and the idea of morality, uh, you know, duty before all else, and the concept of family. We had some returning guest stars from previous seasons. We also finally got what I have been asking for, which is some development with the whole Ensign Burke Isaac situation. Let's kind of just go from the beginning here. We're experimenting with some time travel stuff, which we saw examples of in an early episode of the show. Now we're kind of experimenting with this machine that can send things a certain amount of time into the future, into the past. We experiment with an egg salad sandwich, which is fantastic. We get to see Scott Grimes hosting a party and playing some music for everybody, which if you don't know, Scott Grimes is a very talented musician. He's released several albums. Make sure you guys check that out. Especially his song Sunset Boulevard is fantastic, which you may have heard in an episode of American Dad where he plays the character of Steve Smith. But anyway, yeah, it was a great idea for an episode. We have Gordon telling Ensign Burke about the smartphone that he has, the iPhone from a previous season, and about the young woman from the 21st century that he learned a lot about through her cell phone that was in a time capsule, and kind of de facto fell in love with the idea of her. And then while trying to transport this time travel device to a secure facility, they're attacked by the Kalon. And then Ed orders Gordon to destroy the device, but before he can, it's activated and sends him back in time to 2015. And in that time, they discover that he kind of made a life for himself, which is a huge violation of their temporal laws. So the crew tries to travel back in time to recover him. They wind up coming up about 10 years short. So by their estimates, Gordon's been living his life on Earth for 10 years, thinking no one was ever coming to get him. And they're pretty furious because rather than just stay out of time's way, as it were, he has a family. He went and found the woman from the smartphone in real life, and they fell in love and have a family. He has a career as a commercial airline pilot. It's troubling for Ed and the rest of the crew, because here it is, he's kind of interfered with history, albeit in a very small way, but he has. And that's a problem. And as far as he can tell, they were gone. It's been 10 years he's been on his own and having to kind of just fend for himself. And it does raise this question of, like, what should he have done? Should he have just waited to die for the sake of fulfilling his duty, or what should he have done? It raises very difficult questions. On the sideline of this, we have Ensign Burke and Isaac, who is in a holographic disguise, looking to mine some element from the Earth's core that they need to use to power the ship and power the time travel device, which is a little difficult. They wind up having to pose as a married couple at one point. And while they're drilling, they finally get to have a moment where Ensign Burke gets to expand a bit more on just how she's feeling. We find out that it wasn't just her best friend that was killed. This was a woman that she had romantic feelings for, that she was in love with, and had never gotten the chance to express that love, to express those feelings, and would now never get the chance. She tells Isaac, you didn't just take her life, you kind of ruined mine. You took mine away from me as well. And it really puts things into a much deeper perspective. Obviously, we know that she's feeling a loss from what happened with Isaac, but now it really carries some extra emotional weight. I am hoping that they continue to develop this a little bit more. There's still like 4 episodes left in the season. But I really do hope that we don't let this be the end of it. Like, let's keep going. Let's get somewhere with this. She says that I'll never get to know how my friend, how this person really felt. I'm hoping that in some way Isaac is able to, I don't know, uncover lost personal logs or something that he can do to give her some closure of some kind, do something for her. I really want them to do something more with Ensign Burke. It's I don't know the actress from a whole lot else, but I've enjoyed her performance, just not so much what they've done with her, but this was a nice change of pace for them to do more with that concept, and I hope they continue to pull from that. It actually ends up coming down to what to do with Gordon. They tell Gordon, like, look, we're gonna just go ahead and take you home. And he's like, well, no, you can't take me home. I have a life here now. And Ed sort of tells me, he's like, technically, we have to take you back. You've broken God knows how many temporal laws from the Union. We can't, we have to. Like, honestly, we have to kind of bring you up on charges at this point. And Gordon tells him, he's like, no, go to hell. I want nothing to do with this. You guys stopped being my crew a long time ago. He's like, I had to fend for myself. He's like, it wasn't like I was gone for a couple of weeks. He's like, for me, it was 10 years. It was a decade. And yeah, I did what I had to do. And, he's like, as far as I'm concerned, you guys were never coming back. He's like, I didn't even know if the Orville had survived the attack, if you were ever coming back. And it's at this point that Gordon tells his now wife kind of where he's from, and she's pretty receptive to it. She's always kind of figured there was something just kind of different about him, and now it's been kind of confirmed. And then we get into a moment in the episode that's really, I mean, it is dark. It's heart-wrenching, where they come to tell Gordon, look, we're taking you back. We've got the stuff we need. We're just going to go back the other 10 years and get you from further in the past before any of this has happened. We're gonna get the original you. That and he tells him, he's like, guys, like, if you do that, none of this will have ever happened. He's like, my family will never have existed. And that's a scary, like what would any of us do? What would any of us do in that situation? It's a scary thought to think of. And there's a wonderful heartwarming moment between Gordon and his wife and son. Um and then that's kind of the end of that timeline. The Orville goes back in time all the way and collects Gordon after he's only been on Earth for in the past about a month. So he just kind of just been roughing it for a little while, and they bring him back, and they have a moment at the end of the episode where they explain to him kind of the ins and outs of what happened. And Gordon at this point hasn't had a decade to become jaded, and he had his heart and his mind changed by the reality of things. It's only been a few weeks, so he's more in the camp of like, no, you guys did the right thing. He's like, that version of me was very selfish, and it's whether you agree with it or not, it's just it's an interesting idea to think about the fact that, like, this isn't one of those perennial arguments that has no right answer. Like, yes, technically what he did was alter history, and you're not supposed to do that, but also what they did was kind of cruel. But what do you do? It's an impossible decision to have to make. And also we get, and we're continuing to develop this odd romance between the engineer's name, who I am blanking on all of a sudden, between Lamar and Tala, the security officer. And it's a hilarious scene. The scene is so funny. I mean, it is one of the funniest scenes they've had so far this season. There is a bit more levity in this episode, which I think is actually a good thing, because last week's episode, A Tale of Two Topas, was very heavy and didn't have a lot of levity. And this one, while it still dealt with serious, emotional, deep themes, had a good bit more levity to it, and it was a bit of a palate cleanser, if I can take it that far. There's a great moment with Ensign Burke and Isaac in a bar, and also talking to a realtor. There's the moments with Gordon at the beginning playing music at a party are pretty good. Again, the moment with the scene with Thala and Lamar is fantastic, and it's comedy gold. No, there's some absolute great moments in this episode. but it just continues to be the best Star Trek that's on TV right now, or on streaming rather. So let me know. Want to know what you guys thought, though. Are you as on board with this season as I am? How did you feel about this week's episode? And are you looking forward to what's going on with the rest of the season? Do you want to see another season? Do you think this is a good enough swan song? Let me know down in the comments, or let me know up on Twitter. All our Twitter stuff is down in the description of this episode. You can like this video and subscribe to get everything else we have going on here. We have so much. And with that being said, I'll see you guys again next week for another review of the Orville New Horizons right here on Off the Wall. Bye.